Cathy, welcome to Lunarbird Book Club. Hello, so welcome to my August reading journal. It is the 6th of August today. I'm just about to go to work, but first of all I have a little reading update. So I have finished a book. I finished The Book Eaters last night by Sunyi. So the Book Eaters are a kind of like vampire creature who don't drink blood, but they eat books. They have special book teeth, ink teeth, and they bite into books and absorb all the words and collect them. Just a really interesting concept. So they're like creatures who've been put on the earth by a mysterious collector sent to gather information, and they gather information by eating books. But the collector has long since disappeared, and the book eaters don't really know what to do with themselves, and their numbers have diminished until there's only like a handful of really powerful families living in different secluded manor houses around the UK, and their society is kind of collapsing. And in the midst of all that, you have a young book eater called Devon, and women are very rare in the book eater families. They're becoming increasingly rare, and because of that they've fallen into a system of arranging marriages where the women are kind of passed around from manor to manor. They birth a couple of children and then they have to be separated from their children and basically go into like a self-imposed exile type thing. So Devon in our story decides she can't be parted from her child and kind of stages a breakout and runs away. And her child is not your normal book eater, her child is a mind eater. So some of the book eaters are mind eaters, and mind eaters don't eat books. They suck out human brains and absorb information that way. But obviously they also absorb personalities and memories and knowledge. So really just cool take on the vampire story. And yeah, I enjoyed this one. It's a little bit YA in the writing style feel, but yeah, I really enjoyed that. A really interesting thing that the author's done is that the book eaters aren't creative themselves, so they can only absorb information, but they're not creative. They can't write. They can read, but they can't write. There's like a block there, and they don't make art. So they are not creative, to the point where that's kind of why they're struggling to survive, because they can't imagine a future different to what they've already experienced, and it's really hard for them to make changes and leaps into the unknown. And I was just quite impressed with that idea, because like we so admire creativity, especially readers. So to set up your main characters in a book where the main characters are inherently not creative, I think that's a really interesting challenge, and she pulls it off really well. So I've enjoyed this. It was really interesting. It's got me thinking, and yeah, it was quite a fun story. So that's The Book Eaters. And then my next read is going to be, I haven't started it yet, it's going to be Hag-Seed by Margaret Atwood, because Lunarbird, we turned one. We've had our 1 year anniversary this month, and for our anniversary, Rachel and I each wrapped up 3 books, presented them to the other person, and we each had to like pick one of the wrapped books to read as our next read, and we didn't know what it was. And this is the one that I picked that Rachel wrapped for me. So yeah, this is loosely based around The Tempest. It seems to tell the story of a theatre manager who, on the eve of his grand Tempest performance, gets kicked out of the theatre group and disgraced, and then 12 years later is kind of invited into a program to stage a production using prison inmates, and it's like a chance for him to get revenge. That's what I've gathered from the back cover. Do you know what? The Tempest is one of Shakespeare's plays that I know very little about. I think I've seen an adaptation of it by CBeebies, and that's as much as I know about it. I mean, CBeebies is great. We love their Shakespeare adaptations. I've read Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale before, and I thought that was an amazing book. I studied it in school. I thought it was incredible, but it was so harrowing for me. I thought, I'm never reading that again. But it was a really good book. So yeah, I'm interested to get into this. And lastly, I am also listening to an audiobook that is called Falling into Honey. And this is a beautiful work of non-fiction. So yeah, oh yeah, I'm listening to non-fiction again. I was berating myself this morning because one of my goals this year is to make every third book a non-fiction book. I have not been doing that, and I was just thinking, oh, I'm not really reading any non-fiction, and I keep forgetting that the book I'm listening to right now is non-fiction, but it's kind of it's a travel diary. The author has a bad breakup and decides that she's gonna impose some rules on her life to kind of recover from this breakup and to find herself a bit. So she decides that she's not gonna date anyone for 6 months. She reduces her working hours to a 4-day week, and she decides to spend a month on a tiny Greek island. And I'm really enjoying this. It's like going virtually on holiday. She describes everything so well. It's all like trips to the sea, eating lots of food, talking to the locals, and everywhere there seems to be dishy Greek men taking her out on walks, inviting her to have a drink. So she's struggling to like keep to the no men rule. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this. This is like really light-hearted, escapist non-fiction. So yeah, so far so good.
Hey y'all!
Hello! It's bright and early. We are about to get on the ferry for our holiday, our summer holidays. Our summer holidays whilst the rain is pouring outside. We are off to Ireland. Hopefully soon this vlog will be filled of nice pretty beachside footage and reading on the beach. That's what I'm hoping. And it will not be like this. We're just getting the rain out of the way, and then we're going to enjoy a really nice holiday. But whilst we're quiet and in the car, I thought I'd quickly tell you about 2 books that I have finished. I have finished Hag-Seed by Margaret Atwood, and I feel like I have mixed feelings about the book. The overwhelming feeling I've got after finishing it is that I really want to read or watch Shakespeare's The Tempest, because Hag-Seed is a retelling of The Tempest, and in this retelling a theatre director gets ousted from his position and ends up teaching a literacy programme in a prison and concocts a plan to get revenge on the people who have betrayed him using a prison production of The Tempest. So it's kind of like a play within a play thing. So that was kind of interesting. I felt like it was a really cool idea, but the execution didn't quite work for me, that I didn't connect with any of the characters, and the prisoners in particular felt like cardboard cutouts rather than real characters. But I am really intrigued now to read The Tempest, so that's a win. And then the second book I finished is Falling in Honey, which I think I talked about last time. I've really enjoyed that. I mean, to be honest, there's not a lot of plot that goes on in that story, although it's a non-fiction story. But it's just written very beautifully, and there's lots of snippets in there of what life is like on this island, and it sounds absolutely beautiful. And now I kind of want to go and move to Telos for a month. It sounds amazing. So I've been to the library and I've taken out 4 books to bring with me on this holiday. I do have 3 books that I've started at home, but none of them have really gripped me. I'm not in love with any of them, so I want to bring books that I'm going to fall in love with whilst on holiday. So I've been to the library, picked out a few. I can't remember what any of them are called now, so we'll have to find out what they are as I read them. So yeah, I'm set up for a good 10 days of reading, and I'm looking forward to it. All is here. I am a terrible vlogger. I filmed that clip going into our holiday, and then I think I filmed about 5 seconds on the beach, and then nothing else. And now it is the 31st of August and I have done no diary updates at all.
Dun dun dun!
Dun dun dun! So now I'm filming this on Saturday the 31st of August.
Meow.
We've ordered the takeaway.
I got to clean the camera.
Oh, always cleaning the camera, thank you. So basically, food could arrive at my door at any minute, and I've chosen that now is the time that I want to film the rest of my vlog.
So if you hear a ding dong, just don't be upset.
Yeah, if you hear a ding dong, that means my food's here, and I will abandon you immediately to go eat fried chicken.
Or Daddy will, because he's downstairs.
Daddy will not eat my food. He knows better than that.
No, but Daddy will get the food.
Oh, Daddy will get the food in, yeah. So I guess I should tell you about what I've been reading. So my first book that I read was Dead Water by C.A. Fletcher. I was really excited to read this book because the blurb sounded amazing. It's set on an isolated Scottish island, and a weird water-based curse hits the island and different people succumb to it. So it's got a bit of folklore in there, isolated communities, horror, all is crawling beneath my feet. All the things I loved, and the build-up started really, really well, but in the end this one kind of disappointed me because it just didn't seem to go anywhere, and we were introduced to a lot of characters and in their points of view, and nothing really happened. Lots of people got killed off quite quickly, so there was very little like character arcs, and the longer it went on, the more frustrated I became. So it like had all the elements I love. Oh, thank you, Ola.
Putting a bubble on your head.
Thank you. It's just what I wanted. So it had everything that would have normally appealed to me, but it just didn't work in its delivery. So that was a little bit disappointing, especially because I really wanted to love it. I read the whole thing and it just didn't quite come together. So that was a bit frustrating.
You've got into Rachel's reading habits.
I've got into Rachel's reading habits. I don't DNF anymore. She's changed me.
Changed your life.
I heard a car, Ola.
I heard a gate. Are they going to knock?
Food's here!
Yeah!
Sorry, vlog. I'll come back later.
Bye!
Okay, that was a really good takeaway. Okay, back to the books. So after Dead Water, the next thing I read was Poirot Investigates by Agatha Christie. This is a collection of crime short stories where Poirot investigates and solves the crimes. And it was really good. Just really easy to dip in and out of. It's quite a short book, so it didn't take me long to read at all. And it's left me really wanting to rewatch the TV series. In fact, I've added the DVD of the first season of the TV series onto my birthday wish list because just when you're in the mood for like a cosy crime murder mystery to solve, you really don't get any better than Agatha Christie. Then I started The Curse of Penrith Hall just as we were coming back from the holiday, but after I read about the first 4 or 5 chapters I put it down because I've still got the bookmark in. I just wasn't having that good a time with it. So this is an historical fiction. It was meant to be a bit of horror, a bit of crime, investigating a murder at an ancient country house, and the main character was like a disgraced 1920s lady, and I really wanted to like it, but the writing style just wasn't hitting it for me. And this book did a thing that I really dislike when I find it in books, where it kept hinting to like secrets in the main character's past, and either she couldn't remember it or she was choosing not to. I actually didn't finish the book, so I can't really tell you which one it was. But that just always annoys me. It annoys me when like the plot, when a book kind of hints at, oh, but this character's done something really bad, or she had this thing that she can't think of in her past. And I never really like that as a mystery. I like solving mysteries in books, but if the main character knows and you're in their head, but they're keeping it from the reader to build suspense, it just feels a bit like a cheap trick. I just feel like I should know what the main character knows, and the main character shouldn't be keeping secrets from me if I'm in their head. When that happens, it kind of just pulls me out of the story because I can see what the writer's doing, and it winds me up. So I didn't end up finishing this book. I got 4 or 5 chapters in and just didn't quite get on with the writing style, so left it alone. In fact, I did the thing where I then read the last 2 chapters of the book just to find out if it was interesting how the murder had happened and what had been done. and even then it didn't really make me want to go back and read more, so I didn't finish it. So the last book I got out from the library is Kindred by Octavia E. Butler. I've heard an awful lot about this book. So this is a sci-fi book. It was written in the 70s, and it follows Dana, who is living in the 70s but gets pulled back in time to like the early 1800s to save her ancestor's life. But Dana is a black woman, and her ancestor who she's saving is a white plantation owner. So every time she goes back in time, her life is at risk. I've heard nothing but good things for this book, and it's been on my radar for a while, but I've always been a bit hesitant to pick it up before now, just because I know the topics discussed here are going to be weighty. I know some of the scenes are going to be upsetting. In fiction, I really don't enjoy reading about violence. It's funny because I do like reading about horror, and I like ghost stories and murder mysteries, but I don't like sitting in violent scenes for any length of time. It's not something I cope very well with. So I was hesitant to read this because I was worried about that element, but I've started it and it is a really good book. There has been some violence in there already, but it's not sensationalized, and we're not lingering on it to a point that it's making me uncomfortable more than what violence makes me uncomfortable anyway. It's written really well, it's really engaging, it's got quite a fast pace, and Dana as the main character and her husband Kevin, I'm really rooting for them already. I love how much these two are in love with one another. I love how they're using their brains to kind of overcome this situation they find themselves in. I like their resourcefulness. I'm really enjoying this, and I'm excited to keep reading it, and obviously this is going to see me into September. The other book that I have on the go is an audiobook, and again this is another famous book that I've not picked up before now. It's Normal People by Sally Rooney. It came up on BorrowBox, and I was like, you know what, maybe I should see what the hype is about. So I'm just a couple of hours into the audiobook. So far I am liking it. It is engaging, it is interesting. I think the topic, the main thing that it's about so far is some Irish teenagers falling in love, forming a relationship, and the obstacles they face. And to be honest, romance isn't my natural genre that I read a lot of, and I'm particularly not that interested in teenage relationships. But the main characters are compelling in their own way, and I am going to see it through. I can see why this has struck a chord with so many people, but I'm not blown away, mainly because like this isn't my subject matter that really grips my imagination. I just find teenage relationships, like, the whole thing's exhausting, right? Like, it was hard enough living through my own teenage years the first time. I can't be bothered to revisit that in fiction. And then last thing to tell you is that I picked up 2 books whilst on holiday that I've brought home, so these will likely be read in September. The first is The Housekeeper and the Professor, another book that I know I've heard of before. I found this in a little free library at the beach in Ireland, so I had a look through and I picked this one to take home. And then the last book, okay, the last book I got, my mother-in-law gave me. She was reading it on holiday, and when she'd finished it, she said, oh, I think you'll like this. And all she told me was, there's like a strange town with disappearances, and it's got a lot of folklore in, and it's called Winter People. And to be honest, I still haven't read the blurb. I'm not going to read the blurb. I think I'm going to go into this blind, but it does sound very much like my cup of tea. So thanks Rob's mum for that. So that's a wrap up of my August reading. September starts tomorrow, which means tomorrow in my mind is officially the first day of autumn. I'm very ready for it. But August has been a pretty good month. It's been so full of doing stuff that there has not been much vlogging, but it has been a nice month for me. I hope it's been a nice month for you too. Keep an eye out for Rachel's vlog, that's also out this weekend. I've barely seen Rachel. We've had clashing holidays. I've not seen her in weeks, so I'm going to also use her vlog to catch up on what she's been doing in her life. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye. Gosh, you guys. Hello!
Yeah, 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 yeah.